My name is Paula Hersey, and I am your moderator today. I have a wonderful panel with me, Bobby Baker from Bobby Baker Gallery, Sean Fitzpatrick from Cape Cloth, and Bart Wiseman from Bart Wiseman Jazz and Cape Conservatory, and well, you all have a lot of hats, don't you? As artists, don't we all have a lot of hats? So while we were outside trying to figure out what we were going to do today, one of the things that a phrase came up was every piece of art has a story. Think about that. You're all artists. Every piece of art has a story. So these three gentlemen on my left will now actually tell their story.
My name is Bobby Baker. I'm a fine art photographer. I own a gallery in Katamin on the Cape. And a big part of my story is I have a 25-year career history in sales and marketing. And the deeper I got into the art business in my gallery, I realized how lucky I was to have that business background. And a lot of those tidbits from the business world I'd like to try to share with artists and get them to embrace the business side of art.
Hello. You guys hear me? Yeah? All right, cool. Paula told me to keep it to one sentence. So, Sean Fitzpatrick, native Cape Codder, born and raised. And 4 years ago decided that the Cape needed a better alternative for clothing for locals. Something that strengthened the community, something that represented the community a little bit better. So I formed Cape Cloth, and check it out at capecloth.com. And my story is just about bringing the community together. Donate $1 of every purchase to Capabilities. In the last session, I don't know if James Barnes mentioned that he works here. Everyone know what Capabilities is? Nonprofit. That's what I do.
My name is Bart Wiseman. I've been on the Cape for 15 years. Prior to that, I was in Washington, D.C. With the Air Force Band, and I did 20 years of corporate, and I also did sales and marketing, which helped a lot with all my businesses. And up on the Cape, I'm primarily known as a jazz musician, but I play all kinds of music. I'm a band leader, I teach, and running a nonprofit for the past 14, 15 years, which also gives back to the community in that we're able to bring jazz to the schools throughout the whole Cape. So that's been great.
So we're going to do something a little bit different than most of your sessions today. This is going to be wholly interactive. So we're going to start with a survey. How many of you are aspiring to start your business in art? Okay. How many of you have 5 years or less in the business of your art? How many of you have been in the business of art for 10 years or more?
Kind of the gaps.
Absolutely. Not necessarily. We're hoping that today's session will help you maybe refocus if you've been in the business of art for a number of years and find that your marketing plans aren't working for you. We all hope that you have a marketing plan, right, Bobby?
Absolutely.
Right. So, two other questions that I have for you. How many people in your business of art are on social media platforms?
Specifically for art or just?
For your business. Okay. How many of those that had their hands up are on Facebook? How many of those are on Instagram? How many of those are on my personal favorite, Twitter? LinkedIn, YouTube, TripAdvisor. Excellent. Okay. And then the last question that I have, so we kind of know what we're doing. How many people in the business of art have a marketing plan, a written down marketing plan? Guess where we're starting, guys. Bobby, is it important to have a written marketing plan?
Slightly. Yeah, it's akin to setting out on a trip and without a map and hoping that you're going to get to where you want to go somehow. And I'm a firm believer in when you want to establish an audience for your work, identifying your audience and determining how you're going to go after, how you're going to reach them, what is your plan. To just randomly start posting things on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and stuff and expecting things to happen just because maybe you get a couple likes or something. What's that translate into? Who knows? That's why it's so important to have a set plan. What platforms you're going to use, how you're going to use them, and what you want the outcome to be. The beauty of it is in each of these platforms, they have insights and analytics where you can actually see what's happening. If you put a post up there you think is a great piece of art, it's supposed to get so many different people and stuff, you can see how many people did look at it, how many people maybe clicked on it to go to your website or find out more about you, if it's working. That's a really neat thing that all the social media platforms have, as you can see how well your planned campaigns are doing. I don't think anyone's going to realize much success at all if everything is just random. If you're just posting here and there because I felt like it, this is a nice picture, I'm going to put it up that way. You have to have a plan. And I think it's good to create your plan, get all your ducks in a row before you start your whole social media program. Get your good quality pictures, images of your work. Line up your testimonials, know what your awards are, your exhibits, what exhibits you're going to be promoting on down the road. All these sort of things that act towards saying, hey, I'm here, I'm interesting, my art is interesting, take a look at it.
John,
It's going to be hard to follow.
did you start your business? My mic is always louder because I'm a loud person.
Fair
Do you
enough.
want the loud mic?
No, I don't think anybody wants me to have the loud mic either. So.
I want to know, did you start your business without a plan?
I had a semblance of a plan. A vision. It wasn't really a deep plan. First of all, I agree with everything Bobby said. I just want to go a deeper dive on that really quickly. So figuring out the demographics, who you want to go after, that's obviously number one, that's the most important. Then from there is to figure out, of those demographics, what platform said demographic uses. Everyone in here pretty much, it seemed like, raised their hand with the Facebook thing. That's great because on Cape Cod, if your business specifically is focused around here, it's still really important. A lot of people, everyone uses it still. So as much as you may have heard me at other things in the previous year and a half, talk about Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, other stuff, Facebook is still great. Rules the roost around Cape Cod. There are other platforms, and when you're using, you should be using as many as possible, or as many that you feel convey the message that your business or your art wants to convey. That being said, the content that's put out in each one of those, on each one of those platforms or each one of those channels should be specific to that demographic. So when you get emails from services like Hootsuite and other things like that, where they want to sell you on the idea of simplifying something, and just like click one button and it'll go out over all these channels. That's okay, but I don't really think that like a 22 to 25-year-old around here is the same as a 40-year-old around here. And if you do, and you want to put things out there to both, the same thing to both audiences, don't be surprised if it misses the mark a little bit. So just like a little bit deeper dive on what Tom's saying.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I'd like to take it just a little bit different level, which is most of you aren't doing brick and mortar, okay? And since you're not doing brick and mortar, you have to decide where you want to go, okay? If you're an Orleans artist and you just want to sell in Orleans, fine. Then go with your marketing plan and that's what you're going to do. But if you want to do anywhere on the Cape, then that has to be part of your marketing plan. I'll give you an example. When my wife, who's an artist, and I first moved to Provincetown, I started working elsewhere on the Cape. because, and even though I had a gig that was every Friday night in Provincetown, I said, this is something I want when I'm in my 80s, my 90s, and I don't want to travel that much. I want to get out. So I used my corporate knowledge and I said, okay, where do I want to go? I want to go to Hyannis. Fine. Okay, in Hyannis, what I did was the business approach. Is there business there? Who has it? Do I want it? And how do I get it? So in my case, it was finding a place that I could perform. Okay, and I went to the Cape Cod Resort, which had a big sign out there as you came up the highway, perfect position, that said jazz, Friday and Saturdays. Perfect. So I went to them. Now, years later, not only am I still doing it, but I bring guest artists, and those guest artists, some of them go on to perform at the Provincetown Jazz Festival. In fact, I just had a trumpet player who came in and knocked our socks off, and I just solidified him for a contract for next year. So that's part of the building of the marketing into what you're doing. But more importantly, you have to decide where you want to market to. Now, it could be off Cape. It could be that you want to market your art off Cape or your music off Cape. But if it's on the Cape, you have to decide where and build that into your marketing plan. And then when you're on social media and doing all the other things, you have to find out the places that are going to hit all those different places.
Staying with the same thing what Bart's talking about, if you're going to sell your art, whether you're doing it, you have your own little gallery, or you've got a situation where another gallery will represent a considerable amount of your work that makes it worthwhile, or you're going to do it online, what you need to understand is you're going into business. This is a business, and you need to treat it as a business. Your business plan, along with your marketing plan. Your marketing plan will be part of your business plan. And if you find some of those necessary things, budgetary and keeping track of all the numbers, this sort of thing, being an issue, you need to, if you want to have a viable business, you need to reach out for some help. Somebody that can help you with the bookkeeping type situation. But it's essential that if you're going to sell your art, you're going to be serious about it, you're going to put the time and energy into it, please remember this is a business. And businesses fail all the time. And I believe a lot of the times that businesses do fail, it's because they're not prepared to do business.
Actually brought up a really good point. When we first met via email, we talked a little bit about marketing fails. And I know you guys have thought about your marketing fails. And when we talk about a fail, you can actually turn a fail into something positive. Number one, by learning why did it fail. So talk a little bit about each of you, one marketing fail that you turned into a win.
I came from a marketing background that was pretty competitive, pretty powerful, and with marketing campaigns going out after competitors and that sort of thing. And so when I came out of that background and into the art world, I carried that with me and quickly learned that type of execution of marketing, being wicked competitive and I don't want to say abrasive, but very forward, did not play well in the art community at all. I learned that instantly. And I had to shift gears and really take a step back and go, geez, I know so much about marketing, I've been doing it so long, what's going wrong here? And it was clearly not understanding my new audience. And I took a step before I was really ready to, even though I had all this marketing know-how. So it's important to clearly identify your audience, understand your audience, what makes them tick, what they're interested in, before you kick your marketing campaign into high gear, or you could do yourself some pretty good damage.
So like these guys, I never mentioned it before. I really don't talk too much about it, but I worked in communications and broadcast journalism and sales and marketing, and had all kinds of different corporate jobs for a few years out of college. And so that experience helped later on down the road, where I'm going to break this down where it is a marketing fail, but it's basically the fail is first, where this business almost didn't happen, and then I used that almost failure as marketing. So that's how we're going to break this down. Where I applied, that's how most people found out really about my brand, was basically 2.5 months into it. When you apply for a trademark, there's a window where you look at your mark with a bunch of others, and then there's a 30-day window where any corporation or any lawyer can come in and look at it and say, hey, that imposes on something that already exists. And so on day 27 of 30, that happened to me. And this is before really I had like 4 models of baseball hats at this point. So it's just barely getting off the ground, and all of a sudden I'm getting whacked with emails and legal bills and notices and all that. And didn't really know how to handle the situation for the first 2 weeks to a month, and then basically didn't have a choice, fell back into pretty much like the abrasive thing, and then like that's my personality initially, and the broadcast journalism element was like, you gotta let the community know, and so somehow got the word. I really don't even, to tell you the truth, remember how I slowly got the word to the Cape Cod Times, but then Cape Cod Times ran with the story. The story ended up being on the front page of the paper. Then everyone's like, oh, you're that guy that's like going through all the legal problems. And at first it was like, yeah, I guess. And then I was like, yeah, I'm that guy. Like, I'll totally take it, however you know me. So that's it.
Did you get the trademark?
Oh yeah. Everything went through and all that. But it's it was when it was all said and done, it was 21 months of legal stuff. Thanks. February of 2017.
My trademark was easy because it was Provincetown Jazz Festival. No one had it. 30 days. By the way, LegalZoom, 501c3, did my 501c3 and my trademark.
LegalZoom did.
Yeah. So and you hire an accountant. You hire an accountant.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't become an accountant or a lawyer. Just delegate it out.
Know what you're not good at. Exactly what the accounting was like.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Right. Why? Yeah. The most important thing as a musician for me is listening. And the most important thing in dealing with clients is listening. Because a lot of times they'll call up and the first thing you say is, what do you want? Like I'm doing this big corporate event on Monday, and I said to the guy, okay, I've got 5 different groups I can give you. What do you want? And then you listen. So the same is true when, the biggest failures are when you say, oh, I've got this oil painting. But they said, no, I want a sculpture. And then what do you do if you don't provide sculptures? Okay, so I would say the most important thing is listen to your audience, okay, once you identify your audience, and then come back and then provide this, but don't sell what you don't have. If you don't do that, 50% of the time I say, I don't do that, but I know somebody who does, and let me refer you to them, okay, and they will come back too. The other thing I'll say is that I find that a lot of people don't have sense of urgency in this business. They're like, I'm an artist, okay, I can relax about this. How many people do email in the room? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people respond back to your email within 24 hours? Okay, now how many of you respond back in 5 hours? How many respond back in 1 hour once you identify it's important? Okay, that's the key. Okay, because I can't tell you how many times a day, a week, a month, I get back this email that says, I've never had anybody respond so quickly back to email. Okay, because I identify this is an important email, they want to know information, I want to give it right back to them. Okay, and a lot of times I'm dealing, like right now I'm dealing with musicians who are in Europe, so we're on different time zones. Okay, and I'm trying to line them up for the Jazz Festival next year. So we're going back and forth on different time zones. But I'm still, sense of urgency is there. Because that's really the key. If somebody comes into his business and says, I want a piece of art, and 2 weeks later he says, oh, I've got it for you. I'm sure they bought it from someplace else. They want it, there's a reason that they come to you, and they want a response back as quickly as you can give it to them. Okay? But they also want a complete response. So if it takes another hour or 2, that's okay too. But the idea is the sense of urgency has to be there. So when you're an artist and you're in your studio, do your art. But when you're a marketing person, be a marketing person. Okay. The hardest thing I'll have to do is, like tonight for my gig, I will show up an hour or more early just so I can set up and relax and put away all the emails and everything else and then play the gig. Then you pack up and then you're back to putting on your email hat, your marketing hat, and everything else you do. Okay? But when it's your time to sell your art, you need to put on your sales cap and you need to be selling your art. When it's your turn to produce the art, that's when you're in your studio or your music or whatever you do, and that's your time to really be your artistic self. Okay?
Thinking of what Bart's saying is being ready to sell your art, I think one of the key things is to be very comfortable in sharing your story of how you create your art, why you create your art, why go to a certain area or a certain spot that's special to you that resulted in this piece of art. The more you speak with clients, potential clients that are interested in art, the more you'll realize how important these things are to them. They want to know the story behind it. I learned this sort of the hard way, I guess, in my gallery with not only with my own work, but I have two painters in there, and all of a sudden people start asking me questions about certain paintings, how the artist did the sky, what motivated them to do this and do that, how did they do this, what method did they use? And I was like, well, it's all good questions. And so these are all very important things. It's not so much somebody walks in and goes, I love that piece of art, I'll take it. They want to discuss it, and there's nothing better to the potential client than if they're able to discuss it with the actual artist.
Just make me think about stuff, because I've only been in business for 4 years doing this, and these guys have, just crushed me as far as that. So first of all, I'm flattered to even be up here as I'm listening to this going, you know what? Yeah, no. I'm still, I can kind of connect with this where I'm still learning all this stuff, and probably will be the rest of my life. But what probably was getting me to think of is that with the stories and stuff is, at least from the social media side, because that's really why I get asked to talk a lot of these things, and I know why, is there's an image that everybody obviously wants to convey through all these platforms, but there is a time where you need to be authentic, and that's my big thing is there's a time and a place for it, but you have to figure out how to give a little bit of yourself to the audience and let them into your world and what you're going through now, because there's a void nowadays in this digital age of being human. So that story element is, and actually being a person first and foremost, really resonates with a lot of people, especially artistically.
I just do about being real and authentic. We were talking outside this evening before Sean joined us.
I was here.
Well, you were over there somewhere. I mentioned the thing about being comfortable with your story and being real with it, not just doing something or saying something for a marketing standpoint, but being actually real with it. An example I had was the feeling I got going at Sean's website. And to me, it has the key things that you want to target. A cool, quality product. Yes, your art is a product when we're talking about business and marketing. It's got the cool, quality product. And a story, definite story. From being a native on the Cape, the work he does with capabilities is amazing. There's a real connection there. And before anybody thinks maybe he's just doing that. There's snippets, there's video snippets, different interviews and stuff, and you don't have to watch them very long at all, just a few seconds, a few minutes of them, you realize it's the real deal. This is the real thing. And to me, those are some of the determinants of whether I buy my sweatshirt hat over here, or I buy from a place like Cape Cloth. And it makes you feel good, you're getting a great product, but you're doing something good too. That's a win-win all around, and those are the type of things that you really want to shoot for.
I will say, really briefly, to just add on to that, like to really thank you very much. Appreciate it. My friend who helps me all the time with graphic design stuff is somebody who graduated from DY with me and was not even driving the car. He was a passenger in the car and thrown from it and split his back against a tree. So he's a paraplegic. And then I've also had two friends. One who's a school teacher at Station Ave Elementary. Has been teaching second grade for like 14 years. And then another buddy of mine who just kind of retired from it, passed it off, but started Shays Youth Basketball Association here in Hyannis. It's been going for about 10 years. But both of those guys are friends of mine who just dove into the water the wrong way at the beach around here. And same thing, became one was paraplegic, one was quadriplegic. So it's one of those things that like it's always a constant reminder. This is like a bracelet that I wear for my buddy who passed away from skin cancer, and Sean Gannon was a customer of mine too, and stuff like that. So it's always these daily reminders and that's kind of like how I just sort of like turn my social media into part inspiration that way. It's just, you gotta like put everything in context and just be grateful. Just you guys even coming here doing this, and in the beginning, like raising your hands, being like, like I've been in business for like that, you know what I mean? Like that, you should give yourselves a pat on the back and give yourselves credit for even doing this, because that's the first step in anything, and that's always the hardest. So, end of rant. So.
We could go on talking for a long time. You want to kick some Q&A? Yeah, let's do it.
So we really want you and your questions. You have experts sitting up here that can probably answer a myriad of things that are on your mind about marketing and branding your business. And come back to the story. Are you telling your story? How do you tell your story? So we're going to take questions from the audience. I will repeat them for the camera because I am a pro. What do we have for questions? You're here to work, folks.
Come on.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I follow Sean on Instagram and Facebook, and I really enjoy the balance of like you yourself, like your walks with Big Vince and your inspirationals and stuff like that. So it's like, how do you know how to balance the business with the personal? Like, what is it? Is it just kind of like an intrinsic sense of knowledge, or is there a method to that?
How do you know how to balance professional and personal through social media?
I would love to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it's all feel. It really is all feel. And sometimes it's sometimes I'll put stuff up and be like, oh man, and kind of regret it. And not all the time, but sometimes that's I wouldn't say always do that. I'm not recommending that, but sometimes it really resonates with people. Even though I was going to pull it down, but no, I don't really. It's feel. So thanks, appreciate it.
Perhaps it's knowing your audience.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess a little bit of that because
You know who your followers are.
we were talking about it in the hallway before this, and one thing I will say that I did a lot more this past summer that I didn't do the summer before that was I 2 summers ago I kind of let stores do a lot more of myself, and what I realized is that I felt the real loss with the customer base and what they wanted. I missed the conversations with them, and part of that came from being a bartender and a waiter for a long time. So I like the correspondence with people. So I think that by being out there a lot this past summer, you just get to know people, and I maybe falsely, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable with myself than just put myself out there. It seems to work.
Place for websites, professional websites versus or complementing social media.
Ooh, we talked about that earlier too, Bobby. You're going to tackle this one, or is Bart?
I'll talk a little bit. It's interesting because I don't know if you're catching this as we go along, but each one of us as an entrepreneur has a varied background. It's not like we did one thing for 10 years or 20 years, and we're constantly evolving, all three of us. In fact, when I was talking to Bobby about, it's great that you're in Katamit, he says, no, actually I was in Chatham for 20 years, and that's before I went to Katamit. So, you're getting this feel. And not only that, of the three of us, now I know you're a native, but...
Dennis.
Yeah, so you're a native. But the other two of us are Wash-Ashores. So it's interesting that we all gravitated back or to the Cape, Right, but and one of the things we were talking about in the hall is because, one of those reasons is because of the arts community, is why we came back here. Community, but also for the arts community too, so. Anyway, the question about websites. I, as a computer person and a computer coder, it was very hard to finally give up my own coding, but I finally did it. And my brother, he lives in Paris for like the past 30 years, and he sells Google Ads, and they've decided on Wix, so I went with Wix. But I'd say any of those, the platforms that are out there like Wix, that are robust, that are going to stay in business, that are easy to put something up, photos, videos, whatever you want to do, I would highly recommend that. I have 2 websites running on them, and I get compliments all the time about them. One was developed from scratch in the Wix platform. The other was just pulling one of their templates out and just putting it together. It's inexpensive, it's robust, I've never had them down, and they can even host your email, but Gmail's more robust for that. So I would highly recommend using one of the platforms and just go for it that way.
I would agree with Bart. I use, and I've been using for 11, 12 years now, a platform called Folio Link. And what I like about it, if you're not into doing much at all with it, as far as spending time in design, they provide a ton of different templates, so you can just plug your stuff in. But the cool part is, if you want to get more involved, customize it yourself and work with it and keep expanding it, which I have to a degree, obviously over more than a decade. You have that ability within that. And I think we were talking earlier, I had mentioned I read something recently where some of the younger artists out there have begun to think that websites aren't necessary because proliferation of all the social media, like Instagram, can serve as my website. And there was some pushback in the article that that's not necessarily so. There's plenty of people out there yet that really do not embrace social media. It's not a thing that they enjoy. They're not out there going through it on a daily basis, that type of thing. But just about everybody can get their head around going to a website. And the beauty of the website is you can have all the links to all your social media there. So if you get people to the website, they can see your art, see your work, and if they are into your social media, you still capture them there because they can hit all the buttons to go to your social media. So I still think the website is extremely viable tool. You need to have your work to be seen online.
It can be much more in depth, which is what I like about the website versus
Squarespace.
It's like a flag to hit.
Your website should be the hub, and the social media should be the spokes.
I said squarespace.com. That's what I use. That's what I would recommend. Same as Wix.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yes.
I just wanted a follow-on comment based on what Bobby said, is that for some artists, there are platforms that are specific to their art. So, Bobby's using the Folio website. There are websites for musicians like Bandcamp, et cetera, that are specific for that. So aside from the common platforms like Squarespace or Wix or WordPress, there are some very specific ones. So I would encourage people to follow their art and see what's out there specifically.
I agree. In fact, my wife's art is on an artist website, so I agree with you. But it's still like Facebook, I like Wix and all the others. Right. You can just plug and play. Right. Yeah, but I agree with you.
One of the more important things as an old web developer is have a plan before you actually build your website. Get good quality images of your work and make sure that you understand where your website lives, who your contacts are for that, and that you're writing content, you're telling the story on your website. That's way more important than what it looks like. To be honest with you, it could be purple and lime green. Nobody cares. They want to know how to buy your art, how to contact you, and what it looks like.
And if I can add to that, I've been spending the last 2 days rewriting bios for artists, and these are artists who are appearing all over the world. And you go out to the website, and it just goes like this. And it's like it doesn't say who, what, when, and where. And then I rewrite it, and they go back, oh, that was really good. Well, one of my fortes is resume writing, so it was very easy to do. And I go back, and I show them, and I said, how about this? And they go, wow, that's great. So keep it short, keep it simple, you know? Don't have testimonials that are 2 pages long. A paragraph, a couple sentences, you know, that are out there are good.
What Paula was saying about having your images and your content stuff ready for your website to load, it's so true, but always keep in mind, everything you use on social media, even something as simple in marketing as a business card or your website, everything you do marketing is representative of your art. This represents your art. And if you do something that is so-so, and somebody looks at a bad website, somebody looks at
Clip art.
yes, you know, this is representative of your art. So if you have a bad website, bad social media manners or postings, this sort of thing, this causes the potential client to go, and its art probably follows the same trail.
I'm a member of several performing groups, and I feel like we know our audience pretty well, but they're aging up, or you might say that they're dying off. We haven't quite figured out how to deal with that. Any comments on migrating your audience?
How to migrate your audience from a older to a younger, or younger to an older?
So I'm starting really young because I'm doing jazz in the schools, okay? And these are elementary and middle school. And you know, we did one the other day, and you said, how many kids are hearing live anything, live jazz for the first time? And 80 to 90% of them raise their hands, okay? So I would say, we were talking about volunteering, okay? Are you going to a school and or a library and saying, we'll perform for free, but it's got to be a younger audience, or have the adults bring their kids, okay? And what you're going to do is you're building your audience right there, okay? And we're actually building an audience for you too, but you have to do that. And the symphony's facing this right now too, is how do you build a younger audience? Well, we're going to the schools, okay? We're taking that audience because some of those kids are going to stay on the Cape or come back to the Cape, okay? And if you impart it now, they're going to hear it. So that's one way. The other way is look for opportunities to perform for younger audiences. You know, go to the CCYP and say, do you have an event that we can volunteer for? Okay. We may not be your age demographics, but we're willing to donate something. And the same is true for anywhere on the Cape. Same is true for artists too, okay? Have you ever taken a piece of artwork and said, I'm going to donate it to the library or this elementary school or something like that? Because then all of a sudden you're going to younger audiences, you know, getting into your younger audiences.
Just really quickly on that, just trading value for attention, right? You have value, just you got to get it in front of somebody, and once in a while it's worth a barter instead of saying, and just to figure out too, like where that new market is. And so think about that with anything, is trading value for attention, and that parlay that into social media, sense attention.
Yes.
Going back to that, Bart, as a two-dimensional artist, we are asked all the time to donate, but constantly. How does one get beyond the donating part? Because I love to donate and build my audience that way, but it doesn't always.
Well, I was specifically addressing his question, but in your business plan, you have to decide, okay, when you go to the food store, okay, how many different cereals do they have? Okay, they don't have one, they have several. So you have to decide within your business,
Right.
as a two-dimensional artist, what am I selling, okay? And then who's going to be buying that, okay? And that's who you need to market to. And if it's on the Cape, it's on the Cape. I know it sounds very simple, but that's the basis of it. For instance, I'll give you an example. We did the second year of, I'm entrepreneurial, but I also like to try new things. The second year of the Jazz Festival, we tried a jazz jam, okay? And 50 musicians, professional musicians, came for free to perform in Provincetown in August. Now that alone just blew me away. And I was like, man, we could do this year round, okay? And we started doing it year round, and now it's 12 years later, and we do it year round. And what's the key component of that? Yeah, people get to hear, but the musicians get to come, meet each other, perform, and there have been bands that are formed out of this. they're recording companies, they're studio CDs that have come out of this. The idea is that, you just press ahead and figure out where's my market and how do I make this work, okay? And then once you do that, then you got to continue to do it. You just can't sit back and let it roll. You've got to continually work. Once he builds his market, he still has to figure out, how do I keep it going, or do I need to expand? So you can't stop. But these other things that we're talking about might be 10% of your business or 5% of your business model, but they're important parts of it. Okay, giving back. Because it not only does it make you feel good, but you know that it's going to lead to something. I mean, to be honest with you, when I go do these presentations in the schools, I get paid to do them, okay? But that's the business model I worked out, okay? So we're giving back. The school gets a performance for free, but we figured out how to make it work for us and for the schools and the kids.
Just wanted to add on to that. Regarding donations of your work, and you'll get more and more requests to donate. The amount of donations, the amount of work that you donate should be figured in as part of your marketing plan. And there's no crime, there's nothing bad about when you get a request, say, 2/3 of the way through the year, that you would like to give a piece. It's something that you believe in, but your marketing budget, you've hit that ledge for this year. You can explain that hopefully next year, if they come to you sooner, you'd love to participate, but your budget only allows this much. And you should figure that in, and that's just a legitimate way of doing business. It's part of your marketing budget.
So you're basically saying you learned to say no, right? Yeah,
Yes.
because that happened with me the first couple years of the Jazz Festival. I was getting some from all over Connecticut. We want tickets to give away. I had to learn how to say no. Okay, so
5-6 emails a day.
exactly.
And is the place that you're donating aligned with your art?
Right.
So those are some of those decisions within your marketing budget. So if it's X organization that really isn't an audience for your art, then the no becomes easier?
Yeah, I mean, I would think obviously if it doesn't match up with what you're doing, it doesn't make sense. But I think the key is establishing, when you're sitting down and looking at, I can allow this much of my product or these many dollars this year to promote my business. And you have to be careful in how you spend it. I mean, there's very, very few, if any of us, have unlimited marketing budgets. That would be wonderful. But we have to be very careful and smart as to where, and like you're saying, if somebody is asking for a donation and has absolutely nothing in common with our art and what we do and what we're trying to get, even if we'd love to give it to us, and even in that case, say we haven't yet in our budget, we could do it if we wanted to. That would be spending marketing dollars poorly.
Excellent. More questions?
You guys mentioned wear a lot of hats. How do you budget that time?
Ooh, see, it's like they knew, they were listening outside when we were talking. How do artists wear all of those hats and how do they budget their time? Who's going to go first on this one?
I don't know, most of the time it feels like there isn't enough time and things get, they roll over the next day and things like that, but I think as time goes on, just like Mark was saying, learning how to say no is you learn how to prioritize, and priorities are ever changing, ever evolving, but a lot of the times, and again, I'm definitely the new guy on the stage in this whole game, but a lot of the times those priorities have a way of working themselves out, and you know what's most important and what needs to get done, because it needs to get done, by the end of the day or by the end of the afternoon, whatever. And also, especially when it comes to the Cape, seasonally, I think we all know, like, for a lot of the times with most of us, you got to ratchet up over the summer because that's when the market's here. You get a little bit of downtime between the summer and the holidays, and like a tiny little bit. And then the winter obviously is a ton of downtime, and you need to prioritize and use that time the right way to get ready for the next wave. But yeah, I think priorities just work themselves out, and they're ever evolving.
I would agree, and I think when you're looking at your marketing, maybe you want to do some sort of promotion in a certain month or a certain period of time. You're looking on down the road. These things are planned. You have those planned out, and the support on social media to boost those. The thing that I think, and I think Bart mentioned it earlier, that takes top priority, and I think is very important and has an incredible effect, is when you get an email correspondence from a client, to answer it immediately. I'm like all of us. We all have our phones in our pockets. We're always connected, and I'm always looking at it. I'm looking at an email comes through. Somebody's inquiring about a piece, or what time I'm open. This type of thing. Instead of waiting till I get home to answer, I answer immediately because they're important. And answering somebody's question or inquiry immediately indicates to them that they are important.
I'll answer your question about social media. I've decided on Facebook. I don't do Twitter anymore. And I haven't done Instagram. All my students are doing Instagram. But, so what I do is I go on in the morning and I post whatever music thing I'm doing that day. That's it. Only music. Okay? And although today I did the creative concerts, but music. And I do birthdays. I found that to be very beneficial. I'll just say happy birthday to whoever has a birthday, 3,500 people. And then I'll just, and that's it. And then I'll go back on later on at evening and clean it up. And I've taken it off my phone. And it's like away, okay? Now email is present, phone's present, and some people are going to text, but I've gotten away from it, and it's been great. And my wife will troll, she'll go out there, and she'll tell me about stuff, but I really don't. And I tell everybody that this is what I do. So I'm only using it specifically for my music, and that's it, okay? And I don't spend a lot of time out there. And just like at a gig tonight, no religion, no politics, okay?
Yeah, and I think one thing that's important, too, we all follow other artists or musicians that we really like their work. We like to know what's happening, where they're showing, where they're playing, that type of thing. And it's important to keep up, to take a look and see since you're following them, what they're posting. It's called social media for a reason. And the social interactivity is very important, especially within the art community. So take the time, fit it into your time budget to look at the other posts of the artists and the other people that you follow.
Can I do a quick add-on? Just because I thought my first answer was terrible, so I just want to add on. I think that developing routines, because that's something that I've gotten better about over the last year and a half, and that for your personal life and it helps in the business aspect of it, but definitely having set time set aside just for everything. To get into a routine is always good.
May I suggest a social media calendar? We'll go to this side and then I'll come back around this. Yes.
Great, thank you. I really struggle with identifying who my target audience is or might be. And I'm a potter. I sell mugs, bowls, dishes. How do you go about finding who your audience is and tailoring marketing to that? I have a really hard time. I have no business background at all. My background is in making objects,
So let me make sure we know the question is, how do you determine your audience?
Right.
Where do you find your audience?
Other than demographic, I know I'm not going to be selling to 12-year-olds,
Can I put it
I'm selling on the
creative? I'm a creative person here, I'm a photographer, and I just want to let everybody know about a new free program on the Cape called eForall. And they don't have a lot of artists, entrepreneurs right now. It's an accelerator, it's 12 weeks long, it's completely free, you have to apply to get in, but it provided me with the business training and this kind of idea of figuring out who your customer is and budgeting, projecting, figuring out how to use your time, and it's amazing. And you can win seed money at the end of it for your business. So.
What is it called? What's it called?
E for all.
Part of what I get sometimes from listening to other people is information that comes from the business world and not so much as stuff that comes from, as a maker. You know what I mean?
What town do you live in?
Brewster.
Brewster. I'm from Dennis. So, first of all, you have Facebook? No. Any type of social? No, I'm not scoring you.
No, not yet.
No worries. Have you shown any of your work to your friends?
I sell at the farmer's market.
All right, there you go. Right on. And so, at these farmers markets in Orleans, have you noticed that there's a commonality between the people that are buying your stuff?
Whoever's there, it's a wide range of age, and there is a wide range.
Okay. All right.
I just happen to be at the farmer's market.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there on the front line. So the best part is have you asked them for any honest feedback or I really like this too. What did you like about it?
They buy it because they like it.
But why do they buy
Right,
it?
but I'm just trying to say
they tell me it's clean, it's elegant, it's really nice. They like the way it functions. Yeah.
Price point. Like today, do they mention I like it? This is a
No,
good
I
deal.
don't think that's effective.
Okay. Just wondering because that's the way I would start to build it or try to figure it out is to reverse engineer everything. So trying to figure out, okay, again, if you're saying everybody likes it and everyone buys it, then my answer would be okay, you can your target market then is everybody apparently. You know what I mean?
Well,
everybody with.
I want to move beyond the farmer's market. So I want to sell beyond the market that I'm already in.
How far beyond?
How far exactly? How far beyond?
Well, I don't know.
That's marketing plan. That's what
I'm saying.
That's what we're talking about, a marketing plan. You want to sell to Orleans, you want to sell the whole Cape, where do you want to sell?
The whole Cape.
The whole Cape.
Sure.
That's great. Okay. Then you need to start, you need a website. Do you have a website?
No.
Yeah, you need a website, and you need to pick a social media that's going to work for you. And you need to invest your time in doing those things and put a little bit of money into that, and then you'll find success. Because you're already telling us that people like it, that the price point is good, okay? And there's a market for it, so you just have to
Now it's about getting it out there.
Get it
For
out
Facebook, you can do it for free. That's why I just asked because you can take a picture. You can take a picture of every piece and just put it up.
I believe,
That's red.
Right? Yeah, use mine.
I believe the key for an artist with marketing is to be found. And you could have the greatest art in the world, just magnificent stuff, and you're sitting in your studio creating this incredible work. And I ask artists when I'm talking to them, if that's the case, do you really exist to the art world and potential clients? And the answer, as far as I'm concerned, is no, you do not. Nobody knows about your art. And the thing is that's the beauty of social media, these platforms, that you can get it out there, let people see it. I've had great experiences with just that happening to me, with getting my work out on social media, getting a website up, promoting my website on social media, going, please visit. Through LinkedIn, I was reaching out, connecting with people, inviting them. I invite you to see my work at my website. Cultivating it that way, getting more and more people to see your work. You'll be surprised what things can happen. But you must be seen, you must be found.
Yeah, just have two great books. One's $100 Startup. Second one is The Power of Broke. The reason I mention this is because there's a graphic in one of them, and I don't remember which one it's in, but it's basically if all you do is work and you don't promote it at all, then you're a martyr. And if all you do is promote and don't work, then you're a carnival barker. You got to figure out which one is in between. You got to find the happy medium between working, which obviously you're doing that, and then getting out there so that people can see this work. The more you get out there, the more feedback you get. The more feedback you get, the more you figure out what to hone in on. You know what I mean? Journey of the longest distance starts with a single step. Right, Confucius.
Said that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but on the other hand, if she's talking to her friend, if you just want to sell at the farmer's market and that's all you ever want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, This is only to take it to the next level. If you just want to play at this one place every week and they're happy with you and you're happy, that's awesome. Okay, we're talking about taking it to the next level and being successful.
Yeah, and this is why you need to get your ducks in a row, get your plan formulated before you move ahead. Determine what it is, what you want your audience to be. Where, as Bart was saying, where you want to sell. This is all part of your marketing plan.
Really quickly, I'll say think about here's a crazy example. Let's say your pottery were to go on Oprah. Oprah was still on, like it happened with Centerville Pie. And would you want that? No. Okay, so it's like that going to Bart's example. It's totally cool.
I wouldn't have the means to produce.
Totally, and neither would I at this point. So it's like I totally get it. But to Bart's point, is figuring out, okay, what is the next thing, and then Bob's point, how are we going to get there?
But let me take your model. Let me just deal with your model, okay? I go down to Falmouth once a week and teach, okay, and play. And a lot of people look at me and they think I'm nuts because it takes an hour and 15 minutes to get there. I spend it, and then an hour and 15, and then during the summer it's 2 hours. But I think it's very rewarding. And teaching these kids in Falmouth, I think, is amazing. Why not go to a farmer's market in Falmouth? Why not go to a farmer's market in Harwich? Go to different farmer's markets. Try different farmer's markets. And see and that costs you nothing, right?
I work all the summer. Saturday's the only day I can.
Then that's,
farmer's market.
so you figure out, you go to different farmer markets on Saturdays, that's all. Orleans has one on Saturday. Give up Brewster, you go to Orleans and try that. And see, maybe you'll find out that you'll sell more in one day in Orleans than you did in 4 weeks at Brewster. And you'll find out that's a better market for me. So by trying, that costs you nothing but to go there and whatever it costs for the booth that day. So that's on social media, that's not website, that's old-fashioned brick and mortar. You take it there and you do it.
Yes.
Excuse me. I just wanted to point out something that ties all this together in a way. When you get to the next level, one way to make a little money with your artwork is to be in a gallery, or maybe in several galleries. And the gallery's job is to promote your work and get it out there. But you still have to do your own website, your own social media, and promote yourself. But what happens is artists sometimes, someone will contact me. I saw your painting on Facebook. Can I buy it? So it's my responsibility, with my agreement to the galleries, to say, sure, you can have it. This is how to contact the gallery. Because I've heard galleries talk about that. It's a problem now. Artists can advertise really readily, very easily all over the country, and they can just sell directly. So you have to make that decision. Are you going to sell and market directly to people, or are you going to work with the gallery? And if you work with them, you have to have an agreement.
It's all coming back to the plan.
Yeah, and you will find quickly with besides my own gallery, my work is in the gallery in Chatham as well, and I respect that relationship. If I post an image on one of my social media of a piece it's in that gallery, or it was in that gallery, and somebody saw it there and they want to buy it, I could sell it to them direct, and on we go. But that's not the right thing to do, and that's not how I do business. And I think to do otherwise, those kind of things will come back and bite you. I'll reach back out to the gallery, or I'll send the customer back to the gallery. I've done that before. But I think it's important to, when you have these business agreements and relationships, that you treat them professionally and stick to them. And if it's something you go, geez, this is sort of a drag. If people are seeing my work on my social media, they want to buy it, but I've got to pay 50% to the gallery. Geez, well, maybe that's part of your overall business plan and stuff. Maybe you're getting to a point where you don't want to be in the gallery and you want to do it on your own and not pay that commission.
Yes.
First, a follow-on, I think, for your situation, and this follows on to what Sean and Bart both said, is know what you're good at and know what you're not good at. And what you're not good at, have somebody else help you. So maybe in your case, as opposed to trying to put a business plan together, is to reach out to someone and help who might be good at that. Maybe maybe even one of these guys up here would be great for that. Somebody who can help with the website, somebody who can help with social media. I think a lot of us get overwhelmed thinking we have to do it all ourselves, and if we think that, then that's a good path to go.
Excellent. You had a question too?
It connects quite closely to that. You mentioned early on very adamantly about delegating when it comes to legal or accounting, and it sounds like you all have experience in marketing. Have you considered outsourcing marketing to someone else, or if you have, has it been successful? Or do you feel like you mentioned losing connection with the audience if you're selling a product in another store? But I guess for those of us that may consider marketing not to be a strength, is that a possibility?
Is it a possibility to outsource your marketing? And let's make sure that everybody understands the difference between marketing and branding. Okay? So marketing is the vehicle, branding is your authentic story. So I'll let, who wants to go first on that one?
I'll go. I mean, I don't mind it. I think that what Bert was saying before is, identifying what you're good and not good at. Right away, you said it sounds like if we're talking about you specifically, you don't sound too confident in the marketing thing. So, like right away, I would go with intuition and be like, okay, then it's a matter of figuring out who are you comfortable telling or portraying and conveying your story, because that's a big decision to make. That's one reason personally why I've been approached by a few different like smaller boutique marketing places, and I have a mixed reaction, because one, I was like, well, is my marketing not good? And then it's, like maybe they want to take this thing to the next level. But with me personally, I'm a control freak in the way that my message is portrayed. You know what I mean? If I screw it up, I'll be like, hey, it's all on me, whatever. But I'm very with my message personally, and how with my brand is I'm a control freak on that. So I wouldn't do it personally. But if you don't feel like it's a strength of yours, I don't see anything wrong with that. Outsourcing.
I think in Sean's case, I went all through his website, read stories, and looked at video clips and all this stuff. Very interesting stuff now. It's so much him. And that's what's so cool about it, and so
it's a great
authentic.
example. It's a hard example.
And for him to farm out the marketing to have somebody that's not him, in this case, I don't think would work, or not work.
That's a weird
near as well.
You know what I mean? It's weird where I have a lot of me in my brand, which most people don't. And if I wanted to make that play right away in year one or in the 6-month mark, and say I don't want my face involved in this, then I would have, I would have punted that and given it to somebody else. Now I kind of wish it was.
But when the brand is yourself.
Right.
Okay.
That's it.
I guess
It's hard to have somebody else sell it.
Yeah, that's a big,
Okay.
like if the brand's yourself.
Yeah. Once you get established, you can have somebody help you market that. But if you're the brand, okay, and that's what they're buying, okay, and they want to talk to you, okay, and you get better at it. You come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that being said, it's really weird. Like I'm still not comfortable with it. I just assume you just get used to it. You know what I mean? You get better at faking, I guess.
But if you for me, letting the gallery, if I owned my own gallery, it'd be hard for me to say like, this is such a great painting. I am such a great artist, But the gallery can say that. So like doing your own marketing, it's having a spokesperson can help.
Well,
I wanted just to fine tune the question slightly. If I was asking or curious if you had faced it in terms of time restriction or energy. Like say you have your brand, you have the images, you have the copy. If you've given any of that to someone and you can give them your marketing plan, have them roll it out. If anyone had advice with that.
I happen to enjoy doing all that.
Okay.
I create all my own graphics and my content, my copy, everything.
Yeah.
And that comes along with me doing it for so long, and I still enjoy doing it. So no, I don't have any desire to farm that out, although sometimes, when time is limited, it would be cool to have somebody doing it, but.
Totally agree. I like doing it. So. Even though I said before, I don't like that.
Did it answer your question or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I put this gallery question? Yeah.
I on your gallery question, it's in the gallery. If you decide you want your own gallery, it's not so much standing around going, "Hey, isn't that wonderful?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, I hope that I don't do that, man.
What it's about is people, and you'll see even on the TripAdvisor for my gallery, somebody wrote a really nice review and stuff. And the thing that thankfully he liked my work a lot, but he was really enamored with the fact that I was there. And he got to talk to me, and he realized that I enjoyed talking about how I created it. That's what you talk about.
Passion,
That's
right?
what, yeah,
Passion.
absolutely.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Passion.
That's a big part of it.
But to take your question a step further, you'll notice that three things are happening right here, that all three of us are highly organized. Okay, and we haven't discussed this, but I can just tell you that we're right. So successful entrepreneurs, who usually fail at least once, by the way. Okay, as an entrepreneur, you always fail at least once. Okay, otherwise you're not a good entrepreneur. Yeah. Bill Gates failed. Yeah. So what happens is you have to be organized. So we go back to this question of setting this. You have to do that, because when you go do your art, it's not about organization. It's about art. Okay. And when I do music, it's about music. It's not about following this little thing. It's music. It's creating. Okay. So you really do have to have that creative hat. And then there's other organization skills. And when you create this art that's yours, okay, that you're trying to sell to somebody else, to put on their wall or in their office or whatever, okay, that you're going to be proud that they have that, you have to sell that, okay. And then maybe at some point you could have some help with that, but you have to be able to do that. Because if you don't believe in it, you can't sell it, nobody else can. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. You had mentioned earlier that you bring the jazz to the schools, which is awesome. To elementary schools, great. The kids loved it.
Is that in Falmouth?
No,
Okay.
Barnstable, way closer.
We go everywhere. We've been all over the country.
But you said that you get paid, but the school doesn't pay you. And I really want to just give my things away, because it makes people happy to get something, but I can't. I have to pay my mortgage.
So I want to make sure that we get the
How
question.
do you get your funding?
How do you get funding
So that
to
you can give your
do
work away?
some of the more philanthropic things that you can do with your art?
Right. So this was interesting, because I couldn't get anybody to come up with the money. Okay, and I said, we run a nonprofit, and we've been giving to all these. I mean, you go to the website, you'll see all these places that we give money to. Okay, and I said, well, wait a minute. This is something that will be beneficial. We run a jazz festival. Why not do this? So we started earmarking most of the money to go to this. And rather than me doing it and marketing it to all these different schools, I delegated it out to the Cape Conservatory, where I work, and said, you guys are talking to all these schools. You're a school already. You guys go book it. You'll get an administration fee for doing that. And then the musicians who perform will get a small fee, and we won't charge the school anything.
So the money comes from the jazz nonprofit.
Exactly. But we've also got some grants, which has been great. But yeah, so the Jazz Festival provided the seed money for this. Now, we have sponsors of the Jazz Festival who are like, think it's great that they're not only just giving to a jazz festival, which is one of the only jazz festivals on the Cape for 15 years, right? But also giving money to go to these schools and do these things for these kids, because this is an American art form that we're keeping going. I mean, how cool is that? Okay, so now we can go off to a school and say, this costs you nothing, and we will do this for you.
Figuring out like that 1 + 1 = 3 relationship, where like how do all three people get what they want?
Right. So in that plan, it worked out really well, and I ended up figuring out how to pay the musicians for it, and the school gets nothing. And it's really great when you go to school and say, we're going to come in for free and do this presentation, right? You don't have to come up with the money.
Right. They're so strapped.
Exactly. So, but still, it's hard scheduling. We're pulling teeth to get to a month because the schools have to take the time to do it, right? I would think they'd all want to do it, but it's very slow. But that's okay. But we're doing it, right? And back to his point, we're building a future audience right there. So look at all the synergy that's going on, okay? All that synergy, and it's all on Cape. We're not taking this off Cape. This is Cape Cod. We've done it from Provincetown to Bourne to Falmouth. Okay, we've been in, and this is only for public schools, not for private schools. Private schools have to pay for this. Okay, public schools, it's free. Okay. Now, as a teacher at a public school, I teach at Sturgis. Okay, now some people would say charter school. It's not a public school, but it's, anyway. But we have to do our jazz program. I was there at 7:30 this morning, 7:20 this morning. Okay, because they don't do jazz in schools. Okay, it's an extracurricular activity. Okay, so we figured out how to make something happen during the day, entrepreneurial, pay back, give back to the community. Okay, and it's just a matter of figuring it out. It's just a business plan. So, you're welcome.
So we're pretty much out of time. We've got a couple of minutes here, and I'm going to ask all of these wonderful, brilliant entrepreneurs, artists, what is the one single thing, because I think there was a theme that came out of here. One, have a plan, right? Everybody got that? You got to have a plan. And two, you have to be organized. So to execute that plan, organization. So I'm going to ask the three of you, this was not in any email or any discussion that we had previously, so I'm going to get you guys, right? What is the single most important thing as a routine that you do every day for your business? One thing that you do every single day as routine for your business.
I think the first thing I do is check my business emails and check the social media pages.
I do that. I'm not taking anything away from that answer, but I think I can like it's important. I know it is. In addition to checking the emails, the orders right away when they come in, if anyone's order for me, they know that I always write a handwritten note on everything. So that I don't do that right like initially in the morning, but it is a routine that I do every day that is like the most important because it's it's that connection, it's that perspective for me where I'm like, hey man, just gotta like, it's just like the first day all over again and just being like, hey, just grateful to be here, just grateful to be doing it every day I can do it.
I'm going to go with the emails and the Facebook. When I'm trying to sell tickets for a concert, which is the hardest thing, is getting butts in the seats. Okay, is going out to some of the sites that we work with. You can actually look at ticket sales and just figuring out, and then how are we going to get an audience for that concert, and that's always important to me. But the emails and the Facebook and doing all the social media stuff is very important.
So one thing that they didn't mention, the single most important thing that you can do is believe in yourself every day. Thank you guys. It was a wonderful session.